Speaker has indicated that we're going to vote today. I expect to vote today. And I expect that the bill will pass today.
So that was Hakeem Jeffries saying we're going to have a vote today. And a lot of people were saying the same thing yesterday. So I don't know how much stock to put in it, but that doesn't mean that there weren't big developments today. We're going to run through several, including that Biden was going to meet with a bunch of the Democrats, not just Manchin and Sinema. So that was novel, I thought, acknowledging that there are other elected Democrats in the country. And that has since happened, actually. And so we have some information on things that Biden said, additionally things that were said behind closed doors. So I'm gonna read some of the things that were broached during that conversation, including Biden saying it doesn't matter whether it's in 6 minutes, 6 days, or 6 weeks, we're going to get it done. Bear in mind, they're the Democrats, so he should have also thrown in 6 years, 60 years, something like that. But he says, even a smaller bill can make historic investments. So that's where it gets into sort of scary territory. He definitely doubled down on the strategy, saying we're not going to do the bipartisan bill until we get the reconciliation bill, but he implied that it could be significantly smaller. And he apparently said that his top line range is now 1.9 trillion to 2.3 trillion. Other Dems are alleged to be aiming for about 2.1 trillion. Manchin is apparently holding strong at 1.5. So somewhere between 1.5 and 2.1 is where surrender is taking us, seemingly. Bear in mind, of course, we had 3.5 at one point. That was a compromise from 6, from 10. And none of this is actually just, this is the price tag to save our planet. This is just what they thought might be reasonable, and we're rapidly discovering that even that was some sort of leftist fantasy, I suppose.
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, Hakeem Jeffries was wrong. It's not going to be held today when the president says it could be 6 weeks or, yeah, as John pointed out. Well, look, it can't be 6 months, otherwise they'll lose momentum. But when the president says it can be 6 weeks, it ain't today, okay? So let's just put that aside. So now, I'd also like to note that, remember when all the pundits were going nuts about this so-called compromise that Pelosi came up with, that they were gonna vote on September 27th, which was, of course, Monday, the Monday that already passed this week. And they were like, she landed the plane, we have this compromise. And we told you guys, ain't no plane, let alone landed, right? They haven't passed anything yet. And just because you say you're gonna vote on a certain day doesn't mean we know what you're gonna vote on and whether it's going to pass. So the key was, are they actually gonna vote on that $3.5 trillion bill? And is it really $3.5 trillion? So as we told you here on the Young Turks, no, they did not get it done on Monday. They didn't get it done today. They didn't get it done at all this week because it was unrealistic. It was never realistic, and we said it on the day that they announced it, and everybody else was celebrating like it was already done, right? Now, I tell you all that because, again, as always, you got to see if we have credibility or not. So now, another reporter, Ben Siegel, saying the number is very similar to what John said, between 1.9 and 2.2 trillion. Now, if you're watching Young Turks every day, you remember the number I've been telling you the whole time? I said it was probably gonna come in at $2.1 trillion. It looks like we're headed to exactly $2.1 trillion, okay? Because they were never gonna give us 3.5. Of course they were never gonna give. By the way, does that mean that if we don't get 3.5, look, I'm not a legislator. If the legislators publicly should be saying 3.5 and not a dollar less, okay? Now, as a news host, let me tell you, we ain't gonna get 3.5. And so that's always been the case. I don't want to talk about it publicly too much. So the question was always, how much are we going to get, if anything at all? But Nina, as I turn to you, I think it now it appears clear that we're going to get something. Like that was always in jeopardy. It's not 100% at this point, but they called it Build Back Better, this act. And they're not gonna call it that if Biden isn't going to absolutely positively insist. And it looks like he's saying, no, we're not gonna agree with the moderates to vote immediately. We're gonna agree with the progressives to vote later, but we're not gonna give the progressives 3.5 trillion. That's where it looks like it's headed. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, later for less. Jesus Christ, I mean, leave it to the Democrats to negotiate down. They are in control. So if they want $3.5 trillion, and again, over the next 10 years too. The American people deserve so much better than this. I am disappointed, Cenk. Look, your predictions are right. your contention that there are things going on inside, obviously, that we do not know. But Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, why can't we have the 3.5? Why can't the people on Main Street and in neighborhoods all across this country have the $3.5 trillion? I didn't see them lessening the amount that they just voted on in a bipartisan way to put more money in the Pentagon budget. What is the problem when it comes to doing what is right, necessary, just for the American people? I just don't get it. I'm disappointed, really.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed.
Yeah, so of course Nina's right about the disappointment because the devil's in the details. John, what are they going to take out, right? Because like if you say, okay, well 3.5 to 2.1, but we took out all the climate change legislation. Yep. Well, then it's not really a compromise. It's that portion is a surrender, right? And so, man, is the devil in the details.
Yeah, and on the other side as well. Whatever little crumbs they have remaining, how are they going to pay for it? Because the people who are functionally the president at this point, they're not okay with any of the forms of payment. They said maybe we can get back a little bit of what was taken away on the top marginal tax rate, the corporate tax rate, and that has gone down almost nothing. So, carbon tax, we'll do the carbon tax. No, next day, can't do the carbon tax. I have no idea how or if at all they're going to raise any money. And you can tell me all you want about the spreadsheets that Sinema has. It's not a complicated spreadsheet. She doesn't want taxes to be raised, that's it. I do not believe she cares at all what actually is funded with this. She cares what is not done, which is taxing the people that are actually funding her. And actually, oddly enough, it isn't just her record on taxes and things like that that should scare us, or her recent statements, or even that a few days ago she had a fundraiser with wealthy lobbyists during all of these negotiations. She's also gone. They're still doing these negotiations. She left DC in no small part to do more fundraising. So she left. Her spokesperson said she had a medical appointment for a foot injury. She's a senator. She could reschedule it. She could have a doctor's appointment in DC if she wanted to. That is not the only thing she's going home for. On Saturday, she's scheduled to attend her Political Action Committee's retreat with donors at a high-end resort and spa in Phoenix, according to 3 different sources. The hotel confirmed that the event, which kicks off with a cocktail reception at 5:30 p.m., followed by a dinner. They're doing this little retreat. And that's gonna be fun for her, and she's gonna raise a bunch of money. I don't know how many of her ailing, suffering constituents will be invited. I don't know how many regular people of Phoenix or Arizona will be invited there, but the people that she truly cares about will be, and they'll be writing more checks for her. And let's bear in mind that while we're right now, Cenk and me and Nina, we're responding to what Biden is saying and how they're trying to reconfigure things to make them work. She's also going to be talking to those lobbyists tomorrow. They're going to be paying attention to what Biden is saying right now, and they're never going to be satisfied. They're going to continue to fight. You cannot placate her. She will always want more as long as our country is in the horrible position where she actually has any influence. And so God only knows what she's going to be saying next week after she gets her renewed marching orders from the people that are going to be at this retreat.
Yeah, and so look, I don't know if that spa has important foot massages or something to cure her ailing feet. But it reminds me of the John Danforth excuse, which is my favorite political excuse of all time. He was UN ambassador for George W. Bush, and he hated Bush's policies so much, even though he was a right-wing senator for a long time. He thought Bush was a bridge too far. God knows what he thinks of Trump. Anyway, he was so frustrated with Bush, he said, "Oh, my wife twisted her ankle. I got to go take care of her. I'm quitting." I remember that. So here we go again with another twisted ankle. Well, and then as luck would have it, my doctor's right next to my donors. Okay, and so I had to go to that retreat, which by the way sounds lovely. So I love the idea that Nina came up with just now. You guys want to do a compromise? We can do a compromise. So instead of saying the compromise should be, hey, let's take out climate change or let's take out the improvements to Medicare, why don't we say let's keep all those in and just take the whatever money that Sinema and Manchin want to save and take it out of the defense budget? You guys want to compromise? Let's do it, right? And they say progressives aren't open to compromise, Nita. We're open to it, isn't it?
No, yeah, absolutely we are. And you know what? I just wish Sinema would just come on out and tell the truth. She doesn't give a damn about what the people need and what they have to say, whether it's her state or across the country. That is the real. And I'm hoping that the voters of Arizona are seeing right through this and that she is primaried. She must be primaried.
Yep.
She cannot get away with just flaunting. I mean, it's just like when she did that vote and she put the thumbs down and a little curtsy, a dance she did. It's the same thing she's doing it right now, but she's headed to a spa tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke around about cocktail hour, right? And she's literally going to a cocktail reception where she's gonna, chow down on some hors d'oeuvres and then literally collect checks. I mean, so here, I'll give you a comment from one of the members that's quoting Nina in a sense. Tommy Too Strong writes in, it's not about the numbers. Manchin said months ago that he was okay with $4 trillion. That's true. We showed that to you on the show earlier this week. It's about pleasing his owner donors. Hello, somebody, and stripping the fossil fuel legislation and stripping the Medicare savings for Sinema's owner donors. That's exactly right. As we're going to show you in a minute, Manchin's got about $5 million on the line on climate change issues personally about his own money. Sinema wants to kill any tax increases for corporations who are her owner donors and wants to strip out anything that helps you with drug prices because drug companies are huge donors to her. And finally, we had the media beginning to just dip their toe in the pool of, hey, I wonder if this has something to do with their donors. To which, of course, we all at DYT screamed in unison, of course, of course.
Of course.
So there's two other little aspects of this that I want to read just to frustrate both of you. But to the director, we've got the screenshot coming up. We're gonna return to that. I wanna go to those two final graphics first because we're talking about donors here. I just love this little detail that like, Sinema's former legislative director and senior policy advisor, Alyssa Marwa, perhaps, or Maurice, now lobbies on behalf of JP Morgan Chase. The bank has donated almost $50,000 to Sinema's campaign and related PACs. And of course, they don't want the corporate tax rate to be raised. This former aide of Sinema was listed last year as vice president of federal government relations for the bank and the government relations manager for the company in its latest Federal Elections Commission filing. The job involves developing, quote, relationships with key policymakers. Like, we've got a lot of people watching. And if we were to poll you all, God only knows how many different jobs you have, different skill sets you need to have. Ours are a weird job, I think we can admit that, but we at least have to know things and say things. Other people have far harder jobs. She just knows Sinema. She worked with Sinema, now she works for JP Morgan Chase, and she can get Sinema on the phone and deliver for JP Morgan Chase what they want. That's her whole thing. So what Sinema is doing is obviously sick and substantively worse as an individual that she's obstructing so much necessary positive help to the working class. But they're also surrounded by a bunch of other parasites and bottom feeders that are just there to eventually make easy money. And in fact, this former advisor, a lot smarter than Sinema. Sinema had to do a whole bunch more to get to the point where eventually she'll be hired by JP Morgan or something like that. Some of her aides are already cashing in. I would argue that they're better at this than she is.
Well, no, let's explain the ecosystem a little bit better because so John's right. Not only do you have that, but her current chief of staff right now used to be a lobbyist for big pharma, the drug companies, okay? So she's surrounded by lobbyists and it's a revolving door. But remember, the staff members get really good payouts. And they might make $500,000 a year, et cetera, when they leave, and that's why they do what they do. But the senators are the big dogs, and they join giant lobbying organizations, which Kristen Sinema will almost certainly will do when she leaves office. And they get several $1 million. So they get the campaign contributions are just the first part of the bribes. Then you get actual money that you could put in your pocket after you retire. And meanwhile, your staff is constantly going through that revolving door and cashing out and cashing out. And by the way, I've always said to legislators and other progressive allies, the bill where you say that they can actually, a real bill with teeth that says they cannot work as lobbyists in any way, shape, or form, after they leave office or after the staffers leave, that's the last one that should pass, because they will fight that with every fiber of their being. In Washington, if you say, hey, this is not right, I mean, they might physically fight you. Like, to them, they're like, how? How would we even buy our mansions? How would we pay for private school?
Our houseboats.
Yeah, and our yachts. You guys are monsters. No, we have to do this. Nina, they find this perfectly normal that they would go and take money from banks, drug companies, oil companies, etc. And then they find it outrageous. And more than that, Nina, the media helps them paint it as outrageous when we say they shouldn't do that, should they?
And this is obscene, and it just really, you talk about the Gilded Age of the 21st century, here it is, and it's right out in the open. They're not even trying to keep it a secret. So that is why, any blue just won't do. We do have to elect people who do have the courage to stand up to these special interests and finally declare once and for all that the only special interests that they are going to answer to are the people. That is why the motto of raising money, small dollar donations, so you don't have to answer or depend on these people, is vitally important to the vibrancy and the health of this representative democracy. Otherwise, these folks are for sale. They got the for sale sign. They might as well stamp it on top of their forehead, Jake and John, because they are for sale. And the owner donors are running the place, the oligarchs are running the place. And the only way that we are going to change this type of behavior and is that we, the collective, we stop accepting it. That's number one. And number two, elect people to office who will go against the grain on this. We need campaign finance reform, and we need it yesterday. That's why we sit up here dilly-dallying over $3.5 trillion when it was supposed to be 6, and before that 10. This is foolishness at the highest order, but it is allowed. Once again, it is allowed in the United States of America to bribe, to pay off, to bag, to put the bag of money on the table.
And look, Bernie Sanders started this trend by saying, I'm not going to take corporate PAC money. In 2016, he raised a ton of money anyway from actual human beings at $27 at a time. Then Just Democrats made it a rule. And now almost any progressive running for Congress, whether they're Just Democrat or not, won't take corporate PAC money. And as AOC explained on air a couple of days ago, she said, well, when you're free from the lobbyists, you can just do what you want. You could do what your voters actually want. And meanwhile, guys, remember, Republicans have no power. Democrats can pass anything they want just within the Democratic Party. So we are not negotiating with Republicans. We're negotiating with Democratic donors. So that's the current situation. I'll end it on a viewer comment, because you guys are not just the smartest audience, but the funniest. Mikey3343 wrote in about Sinema. She hurt her foot kicking down the working class. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.